Hello people and welcome to part 2 of my Caro repertoire that you can use for free. In text I cannot fully explain the key ideas, but I can do it in video, so that's why I'm doing this whole thing. This time it's going to be about the classical Caro where white plays knight to c3. In part 1 we covered the advanced variation, which is by far the most popular variation. Knight c3 is also very popular. We take, and now there's many moves like bishop to f5 and the Caro variation, which I've also played sometime. But we're going to do knight to f6. This is, I believe, the Caro, where we accept those doubled pawns, but we get a very nice development as we open up our buff bishops. So we're going to cover that in this part. So again, we do this. So let's talk about knight g5. This has become extremely popular in Blitz by Witty Alien. The point is that after h6, white wants to take, and all those light squares are weakened. So what we want to do is play c5, and this is a universal move around the Caro. We just want to make space for a knight, give our pieces a little room to breathe. So yeah, c5, if bishop c4, we can simply play e6, and after like one knight f3, then we can play h6. We are now ready to take this sacrifice. You see this bishop doesn't have that much effect here. At like knight e5, we can simply hide our king. Italian will still have 20 moves prepared in this variation, and I don't know, like 30 different variations to win, but I believe this is a good way to play against the alien gambit. If instead they play one knight to f3, not bishop c4, we are already ready to play h6 because we don't need to include e6. Bishop c4 doesn't do any problems at the f7 pawn, so we can take. If they do take king g8 and bishop c4 e6, I believe this is absolutely fine. Again, the same thing. We now have room to breathe with a knight. Bishop can come out, and we want to trade as many pieces as possible because white sacrificed a piece. But it is a gambit line. I don't believe in gambits too much, especially because I'm more of a classical player and not a blitz. Oh, I already went over the variations, so you might see the end of the variations, but I believe that's okay. So let's cover queen d3. The point is basically just white wants to recapture, and we want to offer trades. In Caro you very often get queenless endgames. They're absolutely fine. If white takes, we have no weakness, absolutely none. We just develop our bishops, and that's good. But if they play bishop d3, they stop us from developing our bishop. We need to know one thing. Let's develop the knight first, attack this pawn so that they have to play c3. And now g6. The idea is to trade off these light squared bishops. It can look like knight to f3, bishop f5. And after takes, you see that we have those doubled pawns, but let's just remove and e6. We have this very solid pawn chain. It's a very solid pawn structure. We have this semi-open file for the rook. We can develop a bishop. We can maybe long castle. We can just move the king around, connect those rooks. We might be able to do a minority attack, just to attack this pawn chain. This position is absolutely playable. We have no queens on the board, so white cannot fully exploit this weakness. Queen d3 is not that much of a problem. If they don't take on d5, but they play like bishop to d3, we can still take. And we follow the same idea, just that we don't have to do it this time. We can here play bishop e6 with the idea of bishop d5 and e6 next. So we will allow them to take our bishop. We just take back with a pawn. And yeah, that's pretty simple. So knight d2, bishop d5. Let's say they play knight to c3, we can take. And yeah, that's a position that we will have to play from. Maybe e6, c5 at some point. We want to trade off those pawns. And we will play this endgame. Again, no problems in this variation. If white here plays knight g3, he just kind of avoids any trades. We can play h5. This is a universal plan, not only in the Caro. If a knight is on g3 or b3, we can kind of attack this. And if you are not able to play h5, you can very often also play g6 to prepare h5 and h4, as the knight is misplaced on here. So we won't play h5. h4 is the main line that we will go from, but some people play h3 here, especially in, I don't know when, but they don't want to give away the square. As you would see here, we have access to this weak g4 square. So they still want to protect this. We can play h4 though. I have the knight to e2. The knight has moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So white definitely doesn't prioritize development. We play c5. Again, a key move in the Kann Caro variation. We just want to make space for this knight. If they play knight to f3, knight c6, bishop g5, we can put the bishop here. And they want to take this, but it's actually a mistake. Because, as you see, they have no development. The king is still in the center. Some people will try to go for this pawn, or for anything else, but it's not possible, because you'd simply have more development. We have this queen out, we have this knight out, we have this knight out, we have this bishop out. We are ready to long castle, we are ready to break open the center with e5, take on d4 maybe. White, I mean, they've blocked the white squared bishop, the king is very far away from castling. So if they play c3, we can long castle. If they take on f6, we want to recapture with the g-pawn, as we need the e-pawn to do this break in the center. So if they instead play queen d2, we can take, and we have knight e4. After king moves, we have knight b4, attack c2, king moves, and now we have g5. We sacrifice a pawn, and I don't have it in the study said why this is a good pawn sacrifice, but I believe I know the reason. You see this very weak f2 pawn. So if white were to capture here, we can simply fork the king and rook. If they were to take here, I believe, yeah, we just get the bishop. So yeah, that's absolutely playable. White could already resign, to be honest. But what if they take with the knight instead? And here we have a brilliant move. It's very obvious. Rook takes h4. So if they take with the bishop, it's kind of the same. We compensate so much for this, just by OP's activity, that the c2 pawn is also weak. At some point the f2 pawn was also weak, but here the bishop protects it. Rook c1, they protect this. Some of you might wonder, can't we take here? And we get the rook and a pawn for 2 pieces. That's not really a great trade, as we have much more activity here with them on the board. So queen a5, we have many discovery checks. So the only game that I could find c3 was played, it's a blunder, but this is what humans play, c3. So we have knight d3 check, and after rook d8, we are completely winning. We can even sacrifice the bishop. The point is that after we take, we have every single like discovery here on the queen and the king, so we will definitely win material. The main move here is knight c3, but we can long castle, and we kind of do the same thing as before. So that was if they play h3. If they play the main move h4, we can again play c5. It's a very good move, pretty much always. So they take. We go into this endgame, and we can play e6. We want to get the pawn back. If white holds into this pawn, let's first cover bishop e3. So they here play bishop e3. We can play knight d5. We attack the bishop. If bishop d4, we can again attack the bishop. Bishop pins the knight. So bishop d7, they take. This pawn is going to fall anyways. There is no way for white to really hold on to this pawn. We can play rook c8. We can get our second rook into the game at some point. And yeah, the knight is on g3 misplaced. I feel like it's okay to play for black. If they hold on to this pawn with another pawn, we can play a5. a3 will be a blunder, because in the end this rook is hanging. I want to show this a little bit slower again here. This doesn't work, so they have to protect it with c3. So now we cannot take the rook in the end. So a takes, c takes, and we can play b6. Again, we just want to take this pawn chain as much as possible. If they play bishop to e3, we can take and knight g4. We attack this bishop, we can play knight d7 in the future, attack this pawn. The rook might also help. It's very simple, we will always get this pawn back. If instead here they play bishop b5, we can block, they take, and play knight c6, pawn t6. We attack it, after b5. A engine move from the games available. No one has found this move ever. Rook a4. I was so, I don't know, excited when I found this move with the engine, of course, because this is a great idea. So we now want to attack b5. If we manage to take b5, we will manage to take c6, because this is the only pawn that defends c6, so we might even win a pawn. But white can kind of stop us from doing that by playing a4. If white manages to hold onto this pawn chain, they will very likely be better, considering that they have this passed pawn. But the engine here suggested rook a4. Idea is that white cannot play a4. So now we just want to attack b5, maybe win c6, and yeah, that's how the game goes on. If they do take our pawn, we can just play knight d7, and after like bishop b5, pinning on knight, it's okay. We play bishop b7. Before it's hanging again, a3 doesn't work because of the rook hanging on a1. We want to unpin on knight at some point, take b6, maybe take b4. And this is pretty okay for us. But now what if they play the main line? Knight takes f6. So, yeah, we have opened up our bishops, but we have those double pawns. So what you need to do is you need to imagine the position without all those pieces on the board. Tell me who's better. It's definitely white. Because in pawn endgames, the pawn structure is extremely important. White has absolutely no weaknesses, while we have those double pawns. So we are okay with trading pieces, of course, but we don't want to trade too much into an endgame. In this variation that I'm going to cover, it's knight f3, which I've put as a dubious move because it's not really good on this square. It's completely restricted by your pawn. That is how the f6 pawn can actually also be useful. But we put the bishop on d6, it's a great attacking piece. We castle. And here it deviated from the main theory move, where it's bishop g4. We kind of just pin it, the knight to the queen. But I'm not so sure about this position. Of course it's playable, but I liked one thing about the rook e8 variation a lot. So first of all, the idea here is to reroute the knight, put the bishop on e6 and the queen behind that. Many people will play h3 because we can still put the bishop on g4, that is absolutely playable. But h3 and knight e7, rook e1, rook e1, queen takes, knight f8, c4, bishop e6, and queen d7. This is the setup that I told you about. The knight very often likes to go to g6. It's serving very good as a defending piece, stopping any bishop diagonals. And after rook e8, and for example queen d2, there is much more variations where this can happen. The reason I really like this setup is because you sometimes can sacrifice an h3. And this is one of those moments. We attack the knight, and if it ever moves, we can checkmate white, because this rook is stopping any attempt from white to escape with his king. So that's kind of why I like this variation a lot. We don't play bishop g4 yet. We want white to actually play h3 to stop us from doing that. We could have already gone for it, but I don't know. I like the sacrifice idea. So let's go for bishop c4 here. We have just looked at knight to f3, but what if they play bishop to c4? I want to understand bishop c4, I want to show you bishop d3. So again, we want to put the bishop on d6. White can give a check, but we can just block it with the bishop. Black is absolutely fine here. Well, the idea behind bishop to c4 is that after bishop d6, white can play queen e2. And now, bishop e6 will be losing for us. So that's the whole point behind bishop c4. What I thought is bishop e7 is the solution, because, well, if we're going to put the bishop back anyways, why not do it now? I figured out, though, it's okay. We actually want this to happen. So queen e2, bishop e7, and now the knight doesn't have the e2 square. It has to go to f3, and it's the same idea from before, the same situation, where our pawn restricts the knight's movement. We kind of give away this one tempo, but for that, white has this bad knight. So castles, bishop d6. And yeah, we just do the typical plans. Usually we would like to play rook e8 because we want to reroute the knight, but currently we would hang it. So the knight reroutes via a5, a6, then goes to c7, with the same ideas maybe in the future. Yeah, c5 is a very important break too. So that is the plans in this position. And here, the last variation that we will cover in the third hour is if white plays immediate c3. This is no threat to us at all. White just builds his pawn chain. It's very solid. One idea here is that they make space for this queen, and they will try to get the attack on our king. But we will be very well prepared for this. So queen c2. Right now they're taking h7. We can give this in between check though. Again with the same idea to reroute the knight. And now h5. We don't play like h6. It's way too passive. So h5, h4. We take space. Like this the main line goes. White very often wants to long castle now. The main variation here goes with short castle, but I believe it's absolutely okay. The ideas still remain the same. We push the pawn, we take space, we might want to sacrifice an h3. Again, c5 might be an important break too. So what I covered here is the long castle variation, where we do this. And instead of putting the queen on d7, because there is no king, like pawn h3 to attack, we actually want to play on the queen side. So ideas like queen a5 might be possible. If white plays h3 to maybe even prepare g4, we can take space. If knight c3, knight g6. White cannot really take, because in the end the c4 pawn will be hanging, and that's a pawn in front of the king, so this was a very important one. So yeah, we just take and play b5. If white does take, he cannot like win this pawn because the queen is on the other end. And this is kind of how we want to play. Now that we've set up our rooks, here the bishops are developed, the knight is in front of the king, so we are very well protected. We want to push those pawns. If they instead play like knight c3, we can play bishop b4. We want to take them. If they don't lower us, we just go back, and it's a good defending piece. We can still play b5 at some point. So this was the tactical variation. It is a very, very theoretical variation. The theory sometimes goes to 20 moves, maybe even more. But in this study I went more with ideas, not with moves. That's why I didn't include so many variations in this video. In the study there's a little more variations, so if you do want to study it, then go into the description. The next variation that we are going to look at is this change variation that is going to be in part 3, where white takes on d5. We have those 4 pawns on the king side, white only has 3, but on the queen side we have those 2 pawns and white has 3. That is pretty much the imbalance in the position. We all have the same pieces on the home square. And one problem here is that white can play bishop d3 first. So we have 2 central pawns. White only has 1. But for this, white can play bishop d3. And now we don't have this very nice f5 square for bishop ourselves. So there is some benefits for white and some benefits for us in the exchange variation. Well, that was the classical variation though. I think that I covered almost anything important. Well, now that I look at the database, knight g5, knight g3, queen d3, and knight x f6 are the main moves. Other than this, nothing else has really been played. So I believe you should be okay knowing all of this. And see you in the next part where I cover the exchange variation. If you want to know about the advanced variation, that is in part 1. It has already been covered in great detail. The video goes over 30 minutes. So yeah, see you soon.